Hi, everybody. Welcome to Woman Up. My name's Leah, and I'm joined, as usual, by Sue. How are
Hi,
you, Sue?
good. What about you?
I'm okay. Still not got a baby, but I feel okay.
Yeah, not long, any day.
Yeah. I go from alternating between wanting the baby to be here and then remembering they're a lot easier when they're inside.
Oh,
So he'll get here when he's ready.
yeah.
Anyway, welcome along, everybody, to the XX Files. Where we have a look at and take you through just a snippet, just some of the news stories relating to the absolute madness that is gender ideology that's currently taken over the world. And we've got some stories to go through now. Most of them are just from last month,
Mm.
and there's a lot to talk about.
Incredible, isn't it? There's at
Yeah.
least at least something every single day now.
Mm,
So can you imagine the ones that we don't hear about?
mm. It's almost like there's a conspiracy. To make something happen every single day. So, do you want to kick us off?
Me,
Yeah.
I'm
Do
just
you want
trying
to
to think.
put your hand in the hat and pick something out?
Okay, well, what will we go with? I guess one of the stories from last month was about the 11-year-old schoolgirl in the United States when they went on a school
Mm,
excursion and stayed overnight in New York.
mm,
And one of the girls, there was a boy, a trans-identifying boy, identified as a girl. And for some strange reason, these kids were sleeping. There was two to a room, and they were sleeping in the same bed. And the mother was on the same excursion, but she was in a different room. But she got a phone call from her daughter, who was in the bathroom. And she rang her and told her how uncomfortable she felt sleeping in the same bed with this boy. So they were 11 years of age. And she said she really liked him, but she felt uncomfortable being in the same bed.
mm.
And so I think it was the chaperone said to the mother and the daughter that if they moved her from the room, they couldn't tell the truth. They had to make up an excuse. And that was
Mm.
that she didn't want to sleep underneath the air conditioner or something like that. And the mother was warned not to tell anyone about this story, but she did. She did go to the press.
Yeah, good for her.
Trip to Washington, D.C. and Philadelphia happened over the summer. Joe and Serena Wales say their 11-year-old daughter was assigned a hotel room with three other students.
Her bedmate informed her that he was a boy who identifies as transgender.
Serena says she was also on the trip and her daughter called her from the bathroom.
She actually got along really well with the other student, but just felt uncomfortable with the idea of being in bed with a biological boy.
Serena says she and her daughter met with a chaperone and were told they were not allowed to discuss the issue with anyone else. Eventually, the other child was moved to a different room with one of the other girls. But these parents want action from Jefferson County Public Schools.
For me, is really frustrating.
According to the family's attorney with the Alliance Defending Freedom, the district policy states that students who identify as the opposite sex should be assigned to share overnight accommodations with other students that share the student's gender identity consistently asserted at school. Attorney Kate Anderson says parents should be informed and given a chance to opt out of a room assignment like this ahead of time.
It'd be very easy to do this confidentially by providing this policy to parents and letting them work things out ahead of time, who their kids are going to room with, without revealing anybody's identity or who's going to be scheduled into the rooms ahead of time. They could just let parents know and let them opt out of it ahead of time.
Now, the U.S. Department of Education says schools are required to protect the privacy of transgender students and not to discriminate. I have reached out to the Jeffco Public Schools multiple times today for a response and have not yet heard back.
Yeah, and you just think to have them in the same room is bad enough, but to put them in the same bed is just ridiculous.
Yeah.
Absolutely ridiculous. And for that little girl to feel so uncomfortable, and she felt guilty about it.
Mm.
So what they did was they then moved him in with another girl. So who knows? It's just ridiculous. It really is. But that's just one story from November, and we've got so many.
Mm.
About you, Leah?
Yeah, that is just awful, and I would be sick if I was the mother of that child. It's tolerance and inclusion just gone mental. I
Yeah.
actually think these kids are so young as well that I don't blame the boy.
Oh, no.
That's why we have safeguarding. That's why we have teachers. That's why we're meant to have adults in the room making the decisions. But
Yeah,
it's crazy.
certainly don't blame the kids.
No. But we remember what we were like when we were 11. We were an absolute bag of hormones.
Yeah.
Everything's just kicking off. So you don't want boys and girls in the same bed at 11.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was worried about hurting the boy's feeling. And not worried about anyone else but the boy that's trans. And like you say, it's not his fault. He's been coerced, obviously, into considering that he's been born in the wrong body and now identifies as a girl.
Yeah. Well, yet again, girls are treated as second-class citizens to this ideology.
Yeah.
So what about then the transgender nudist?
Oh, yes. That's pretty horrific.
Yeah.
So was he he's an actual nudist, so he never wears clothes?
It looks like it. So this is from Redux. A trans-identified male who promotes nudism has been reported to Child Protective authorities following a disturbing video beginning to circulate on social media showing him exposing his genitals and breasts in the presence of a small child. Obviously, they're not real breasts because he's a man, but he's had his dick cut off and he's sitting there with his legs spread and there's kids walking around.
Yeah.
He's
a foster parent.
Yeah.
I know.
You see the bottom of it?
That is so cool! How's your name on it? You're welcome. That is so cool! It's from me and Andy. Hold up, that is so cool! I'm just telling her. You're welcome. Hold up. Come me that way. Okay.
Honey, you're gonna need to scoot back.
Look at what my kids got me for Transparent Day. Isn't it cool? They even got my name on it. Oh, it's soft and warm and fuzzy. Yay!
Fuzzy blanket.
Thank you, Andy and Katie. You're welcome. I love it.
Not even his biological child. He's exposing literally foster kids. And the footage is shocking too, because it's an adult sitting in the room when he's given this trans flag, which is a beach towel or something. And you can't believe that they're all just, it just does your head in.
It's just their normal, isn't it? Yeah. That's what's so bizarre about this. This has just become a lot of people's just normal.
Yeah.
In what world is that normal? To just walk around naked in front of children like that after you've had a surgery to remove your penis?
It makes you wonder how depraved the world's going to become. And I heard that nothing happened to that man.
Yeah, nothing happened. Yeah.
It's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
Grooming a foster child, that's all it is grooming.
Yeah. Like they say, oh, you're comparing paedophiles to trans-identified people, like they did in the 80s with gay people. And it's like, But this is a way for paedophiles to just go completely under the radar because of progress, because of inclusion, and you can't question them.
Yeah, when it's not saying trans people are predatory, it's saying predatory men can take on the identify as a woman. And you get people to get really upset. And no man would ever say he was a woman. You know, a predator would never do that. My God, they became priests.
Mm.
You know, they've always been attracted to positions, jobs, whatever, where they had access to children. Now, all of a sudden in 2023, almost 2024, and predatory men wouldn't pretend that they've got a trans identity.
And those priests would have had to go through, I don't know, maybe I'm talking out my arse here, but wouldn't they have to have gone through some kind of process to become a priest, which would have taken quite a long time?
Years and years of it.
Right. So they, you know, these men are willing to go through, put in the years to get to the end goal, which is to access to children. Now they don't have to go through any process. They literally just have to say that they're trans.
Yeah, and walk into a woman's space and just go, I'm a woman. You can't ask to see their birth certificate because that's transphobic. Open the door to every single predatory man. But they like to say, don't they? And it makes you wonder why the gender ideologues can't see or they claim that we're saying all trans people are predatory. And that's bullshit. I mean, that's why we've had women's only spaces, not because we thought every man was predatory. It's called safeguarding.
Yeah, enough are. Even if it was only, you know, a couple of men per town.
Yeah.
We would still need the safeguarding because a couple of men can cause a lot of damage.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Moving us on to the trans activist politician in Australia forced to stand down following child sexual abuse allegations. Notice that all of these stories have been about men so far. This was an Australian politician, wasn't it? He was from the Greens.
The Greens and the ACT. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. From the ACT.
Yeah.
An Australian politician who shouted down a women's rights campaigner for speaking out against gender ideology. Is that Kelly J. Keane?
Yeah, that's when she was in Canberra back in March. Yeah.
He's under investigation amid allegations of child sexual abuse. Surprise, surprise. Jonathan Davis, 31, was one of the only openly gay politicians in the Australian Capital Territory.
Yeah. And interestingly, there was a Greens member from the ACT that actually put on X that they reported him 4 years ago. Nothing was done. So once again, we've got the Greens who are totally captured by this ideology. They would even allow a sitting politician who had been reported for alleged child abuse, and they do nothing about it. A bloody political party. It's just horrendous.
It's too much to get your head around.
It's strange though, isn't it? How many strange men are in the Greens party now? You've got one in Brisbane, I think ran for the 2017 state election. He's got a nappy or a diaper fetish, and he openly admits it. So he didn't get in, but strange, just really strange.
Oh, was this the guy that's been causing trouble for a good few years now?
Yeah.
With the nappy fetish.
Yeah. Very open about his fetish. Hate of women. So
well, this says that this Davis character was known for his vocally pro-queer stance, and archived versions of his now deleted social media profiles show he identified himself as a queer man and used he/him pronouns. Always be aware and wary and skeptical of men who use he/him pronouns.
Yeah. Yeah, the pronouns are a dead set giveaway, aren't they?
Yeah. And queer as well. Like queer, I don't, apparently I was talking to my husband about this. Queer wasn't a big slur in Australia. Is that right?
No, it was.
Oh, it was. It was back home in the UK. Like queer was a disgusting word to use to someone that's gay. I can't believe that people are using it again.
Yeah, I'm a lot older than your husband, so it was when I was growing up, it was a slur.
Mm.
Maybe as time progressed and it wasn't used. But it was back in the 70s, like your husband wasn't around in the 70s.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it was, definitely was. Queers and fags and, all the derogatory terms that the TIQA plus has brought, even calling same-sex attracted people fags. And they're not terms anyone that really is inclusive would use, because it's just disgusting. Yeah, but it was back in the old days.
Yeah. It was back home as well. Really horrible, like just disgusting.
Yeah.
But we must say congratulations to Woman of the Year, Glamour Woman of the Year, a man, a trans-identified man, obviously, called Gina Rockero.
So he's not just a woman, he's the most glamorous woman.
The most glamorous woman of the whole year.
The United States, isn't it?
Yeah, this is a Glamour magazine, yeah. So yeah, congratulations. And that's brilliant, isn't it?
Unbelievable, isn't it?
I mean, I don't really care about Glamour magazine because I just don't.
It's just the principle of the thing, because there would be women that do care about it, and if they care about it and they miss out, then I care about it because they care, but generally beauty contests, that sort of thing, not interested in.
No.
But if taking away something from a woman,
yeah, because there are women that care about it, and there are women that get a lot of enjoyment out of it.
Yeah,
and fair play to them if that's what they want to do.
Exactly.
So for a man to just step in and take that away, it's a pretty blokey thing to do, really, isn't it?
But the idiots that give him the award, it's just, I haven't seen a photo of him. Is there a photo that you've got?
Yeah, I'll put a photo up. He's very pretty boy. Like he's from the Philippines. And he participated in events for women and girls as well as for gay men and teen boys in drag. Another
award taken from a woman. There's also that story, and I don't think Redux did a story on it, the 50-year-old man in Canada swimming with young girls, and he competed in October and last month, and the swim meets for 13 and above in these girls events. He's a 50-year-old man, and he competed in 2 meets, and then it was. This
was disgusting. When I read this, I was like, there must be more to it that I'm not understanding. But no, it's literally as you're saying.
Yeah, and he's also there's the name of the team. So he swims with these girls all the time. So a 50-year-old man can identify as a girl, and he also uses the change rooms.
Yeah, well, why shouldn't he? Why shouldn't he?
Yeah, and there was a media outlet that spoke to either one or a couple of the young girls that were in the change rooms, and they claimed that they saw he was fully intact. Yeah.
I mean, even if he wasn't, I don't want him in there. But yeah, this is just.
Yeah, that's right. But it's just but he's getting naked in front of them.
Yeah. I want to know if the parents know.
They'd have to know, wouldn't they?
Well, you'd think so, and you'd hope so. But if they do know, why are they allowing their children to be in the same space as this man?
Yeah.
And if they don't know, then surely that's illegal.
And the
It's
news,
illegal for him to be in there. Men shouldn't be in women's. Oh,
it's bad enough that he identifies as a woman, but for a 50-year-old man to qualify to swim with 13, 14-year-old girls.
it's like they're trolling at this point. They're mocking us
Yeah,
to such an extent.
yeah.
Because it's not just transgenderism anymore. It's not just a male pretending to be a woman. It's a 50-year-old pretending to be a 13-year-old. It's utterly perverse and bizarre. And we went through the paperwork for the entrance there, and guess what? Nicholas/Melody Wiseheart is AWOL. Well, we came here on the search for one peculiar little spirit unicorn. He goes by the name of Nicholas J. Cepeda, aka Melody Wiseheart. Just one thing, Nicholas/Melody is a 50-year-old biological male who is apparently now identifying as a 13-year-old girl. Out of 10 participants in the swim Nicholas/Melody took part in, the other 9 were 13 and 14-year-old biological females. That's right, real women and minors at that. And you know what? The remaining query remains, folks. Did Nicholas get to change and shower with these 13 and 14-year-old girls? Nobody will come clean. And we are seeking the answers here. So that's why we came to the behavioral science department. If you can believe it, Nicholas/Melody is in the behavioral sciences department. 2 of his specialties, if you can imagine, is youth and children. Does that raise a red flag? We went into the behavioral sciences department. Shame on us. We came here at 3:30. The lights are on, but nobody's home. Literally, no staffers are in the department, including, it would appear, Nicholas. But in the department of good news, or at least the silver lining, this weekend, the swim club Nicholas belongs to, that would be the Orangeville Otters, they were scheduled to take part in a swim meet in Owen Sound, and we went through the paperwork for the entrance there, and guess what? Nicholas/Melody Wiseheart is AWOL.
It's just unbelievable that is happening. And then the outlet that got wind, obviously their parents are telling this media outlet what's going on, and they turned up at the pool, and they got into trouble with the staff.
The parents?
No,
the media. Yeah.
You know, and then they
God.
them out and told them they weren't allowed to be filming.
Mm.
You know, and they knew this guy was swimming, but it's just, if people can't see what's going on.
Yeah, if people can't see that this is mental, then I don't know what will make them see.
Yeah.
Surely people can't, like, normal thinking, intelligent people can't think this is right.
Yeah.
Just on a basic level for those girls. And yet again, it's girls that are the victims here. All of these stories have been about men.
I guess you know, if all females, girls and women just refused to compete, you know, just walked away, I don't know if it would make any difference, because you just think, well, if people are just going to allow it to happen, it's going to get worse. It's going to get more depraved. They're just testing the waters now.
That's what they're doing. Yeah.
They keep pushing it, and they keep being allowed to get away with stuff.
Yeah. That's what abusers do, don't they? They test to see what they can get away with.
Barriers.
Yeah. And the more people let them get away with it. Like, it's not down for women. It's not down to women to have to sacrifice their hard-earned like medals and trophies and places on teams. It's not. But unfortunately, I think that's the only thing that's going to work, is if all of the women now just say no.
It was a historic night here with Laurel Hubbard competing as the first openly transgender in a individual event. And I was wondering, what you felt about that and what you felt that it took place in your sport.
No, thank you.
I'm not participating in this bullshit.
And that's like, that was a pool player or billiards player, can't even say it, player in the UK, Lynn's,
Yeah.
and she just got up and walked away.
Yeah.
Yes, Lynn!
She's great. I'd love to have a chat with her, actually.
Yeah.
Amazing
woman.
Yeah, she just got up and walked away, and then
she was clapped by the crowd.
Yeah, a great response.
Yeah.
And then the dude, there was a picture of the dude standing there with what I think was his like coach with the trophy, and I just thought, how can that mean anything to you? You didn't even play to win that.
But that's exactly right. It's like that. Any man that wins, they haven't won.
No.
So they can stand there and smile and think that they're fantastic. Deep down, they know they cheated.
Yeah, they're complete narcissists. But a lot of these blokes, they want to be in the changing rooms, like that swimmer. Yeah. The main goal is to be in the changing room with these girls.
Yeah. And apparently it's also about taking something from women. Enjoyment from stopping women from achieving. I never really knew how much men hated women until I got involved in this issue. And it's not just the trans identifying males.
Yeah. It's that great Germaine Greer quote that says women have no idea how much men actually hate them.
Yeah.
And I always thought that was a bit over the top when I heard that. Like, but it's not. Like, women genuinely don't have a clue. We shouldn't have to say not all men, but there's enough of them that it's just crazy.
Yeah, and it's the minority of men, but it doesn't mean to say that minority isn't large in numbers. Because there's quite a lot of them, and we know it's not the majority of men, but it's enough to make our life difficult and be treated really abhorrently.
Well, even in March when we had when Kelly J. Keane came over and did the Australian tour, there were hundreds of them shouting us down, swearing at us, trying to intimidate us, just for speaking about our rights. It's insanity.
Sadly, it's not always just the trans identifying males. It's hate women.
Yeah, it gives them a great excuse to get out on the streets and just shout at women.
Even when we were talking to Irene last week about what happened in Portland, and she said there were about 40 men there. But she said they just looked like men. No visible signs that they were trans identifying. And so I think they're these groups that really do hate women that are taking advantage of this movement to also abuse women. And that should be stopped by governments, because it's not just the trans identifying males.
Governments are pushing it. They're actively pushing it. One of the best things that happened this year was Dan Andrews pissing off. He was the most, not only how he treated his own people in his state through COVID, I just thought was just disgusting. He was so misogynistic. He cared more about the feelings of drag queens than he did about the women and girls in his own state.
Yeah, that photo of him in the Parliament House with the drag queen, like he was basically salivating over this drag queen.
Well, he was, wasn't he?
Yeah.
So stand up with your shadow and yell, "This is me!" And some they will love you, and some they will not. But those that do love you, they'll love you a lot.
For me personally, this is the bullying, harassment that I've received online has been truly awful. I don't want to talk about it too much because I will start crying and that will ruin my makeup. It's been relentless and terrible, especially because it's not about me. They're using me as a conduit. I'm a very public person, both in drag and out of drag. I love what I do. I love entertaining people, and I love being a part of the LGBTIQA+ communities and celebrating who we are. And they're trying to use that against me as a weapon against other people. And what those library workers have had to go through has been terrible. No one should have to experience that in their workplace. I shouldn't have to experience that just for being an entertainer and entertaining kids. And I just wish these people would come and experience the art form that we do instead of harassing and bullying online and making up fake content because it's gross.
We will never, ever let a small, hate-filled rabble take away from our joy and our pride, our dignity and our well-being. I can't think of any better reason to celebrate than today.
Right. Now on to UK trans-identified male appointed new endometriosis charity CEO. Brings us on to the lovely Steph. The trans-identified male has been appointed as the new chief executive officer for a prominent women's health charity in England, promoting outrage from women's rights advocates. Endometriosis South Coast announced on social media yesterday that Steph Richards had been hired as their new CEO. A bloke. Endometriosis.
Oh, well, we've all seen those trans-identifying males saying that they have endometriosis, they have periods, they go through menopause. So, of course, he'll know all about endometriosis, won't he? Because he's just...
That is one of the most creepy things when I see a man pretending to be a woman saying that he gets periods.
Why? But I'm here to tell you the real facts. Trans women experience menstrual cycles. Not all of us. Oh, no, not all of us. No. Some of us are lucky and don't have to go through it. And then some of us, like myself, go through it every month. I can tell you right now, my period I experience every month is very real, very valid, and very painful.
When the transphobia just comes out, the audacity and just the arrogance for cis women to believe that they own periods, that they own womanhood. You don't. Okay, you don't own periods, you don't own womanhood. You experience both, and both are different for every person, but as a cis woman, it doesn't belong to you.
Trans women do experience PMS, and we do also sometimes experience cramps because of that.
Just a PSA to all my fellow trans girls out there on estrogen, we do in fact get periods. We do.
It's really mental.
And that's Steph. He's a trans-identifying male, isn't he? Yeah. So they will be saying that they've hired a woman.
Yeah, and everyone should go and listen to the Woman's Hour. I don't know if you heard it, so it was really good. For the first time I've ever heard, Emma Barnett on Women's Hour actually pushing back on this crap, because they're usually very much trans women are women.
So where can you hear the Women's Hour?
There, I'll put a link to the actual episode on the description because it's well worth listening to.
Oh, that's from the UK.
Yeah.
There is a concern that as a trans activist now being a CEO of an endometriosis charity for women, that you will not preserve the importance of things like the word woman and that experience.
How, if you're a man, you can understand or be the CEO of a fucking endometriosis charity. It's got to the point where I can't even believe the sentences that are coming out my mouth.
But it gets worse and worse, doesn't it? Yeah. I think in Redux alone, they reported on 29 different stories just for November, and that's one outlet. 29.
It says, isn't it ridiculous that I've got to my 40s before any medical professionals even mentioned endometriosis? ? Exclamation point. Yeah,
What?
no one mentioned endometriosis, mate, because you don't have a womb.
Oh my God. So has he just found out about endometriosis? He didn't know that that was a female, and now in his mind he's susceptible to it.
Looks like it, doesn't it? Yeah. I don't understand though, because God, what am I saying? Like, I was going to say it's blatantly untrue that a man can have endometriosis, but there are people saying that men can be women, so anything goes now.
Why would an organisation appoint devoted to endometriosis appoint someone who doesn't have a womb, a trans woman? Why would they do that?
Honestly, I think they're trolling us. That's what I thought when I first saw it. They're a very small organisation, and they appointed Steph. They didn't advertise the role. They invited Steph to become the CEO. So I think in some ways they wanted this reaction, is all I can think, because this is a 70-year-old man, and I'm going to call him a man, and I'm going to call him he, who, you know, he's not a gynecologist. He's not a man who is an expert in this field. He's a man who wants to be treated as a woman, and that it's just inexplicable, other than to cause this reaction.
Yeah.
Anything goes.
Breastfeed, they have periods, they go through menopause.
The breastfeeding one was actually the highlight of my year. This was from May, actually, and this was me and Jasmine Sussex, the lovely Jasmine Sussex, who got pulled up for calling out a man who was not breastfeeding. He was attempting to breastfeed. Men can't breastfeed. We all know that. A man from Brisbane who actually works as an ambulance worker, funnily enough, who attempted to breastfeed his newborn son by taking a cocktail of hormones and I think the word is galactorrhea that comes out of the nipples.
Yeah.
And apparently that's all fine and dandy and normal, and actually can be much better than even mother's milk.
He says he produces mother's milk. That's how deluded they are. So, but he thinks now his body is now fully female.
Yeah.
He has said he's exactly the same as a biological woman.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you made it into Redux, so
I made it, so
impressive.
I made it. No, but it was really horrible, really, because we got pulled up by the Australian E-Safety Commission for daring to say that men can't breastfeed.
The amount of abuse that we cop, the names that we're called, it's all over social media. I just saw your dog walk past.
Oh.
But nothing is said about the way that we get treated, and they come on to our chats, our threads. We don't go looking for them.
Why would we?
Yeah, it's just insane. But if you report them, doesn't breach community standards. They call you all the names under the sun.
Yeah, because they're men and they get away with it. Yeah. It's like the woman in the MP in the UK who called your friend Melissa
Bolton or something. Such a gorgeous looking woman. They could make a horror movie with that.
Because she called him bloke in a wig, which is exactly what he is. She
Fitting.
ended up with the police at her door.
It's insane, isn't it? You hear about the amount of times, like that woman that I think it was the UK, and she took a photo of a gender critical sticker. Remember that one? And the police turned up at her door. She didn't put the sticker there. She took a photo of it. And because she took the photo of it, she got a call. The police came and visited her.
Yeah.
You know, it's just this is what's going to happen to us when the hate speech laws, the amendments come in. So, which we apparently still don't have a start date for. Sex self-ID and the hate speech law amendments. It's only a week until we're into 2024 and there's still no date when they start.
So is it possible that they could just, I really don't know how it works. Like, I don't know the right linguistic term for it, but is it possible that it can just be there? It's just one day it's not, and the next day it's a law.
All they have to do, well, it is because they got royal assent. So that's when a bill becomes law, but they've got to have a start date, a proclamation date. So none have been set for sex self-ID or for the hate speech law amendments. And I rang up the Queensland government last week or the week before. Oh, my God. They treated me like they were...
What did you ask them?
I just wanted to know if there was going to be a problem, you know, when these laws will come in to play. And I was just treated so rudely. It was so bad. And she said, oh, we don't get told things like that.
Which is weird, because you could have been from the side that's for it.
Yeah. And the thing is, I worked in policy. I worked with legislation in the federal government for many, many, many years. Your staff are always kept informed, because if people are ringing up wanting to know, so you can tell them. You know, she didn't say, oh, it's still being considered or something like that. It was just complete rudeness, complete and utter rudeness. You know, and no, so we don't know when they're coming in. So it's quite possible they'll start and we won't know they've started. But the thing is, with the sex self-ID law, online, you could register. So when they do have a proclamation date, you'll be told. So I registered for that.
Right. Yeah. Are you going to change your birth certificate to say that you're a man?
Yeah, we're going to do that. Well, when's the next census? Really fuck the census up, I tell you. The census means nothing.
With the census, do you have to just fill it out and be honest, or do you have to provide your documents?
No, you don't put your name or anything to it. So governments throughout history have relied on the census for planning. So now they won't know how many males and how many females because the data's useless.
You can't actually trust now how many women and how many men are committing sexual crimes. It's all sexual crimes, isn't it? Because the men are now being recorded as women.
There was another woman, the 74th woman in Australia to be murdered, and it was in Hamilton in Brisbane, and it said that a woman killed her. And now we go, was it a woman?
Yeah.
Because men committing crimes now, they'll say they're a woman, are they? But I did look into that, and it said it was a neighbour. So it's quite possibly a woman that did kill a woman, but it's quite unusual.
Where was that?
Hamilton, I think it was Hamilton in Brisbane.
And that was recently?
Yeah, I think it was yesterday.
Right.
So stabbed multiple times, and it wasn't a family member. So I Googled it to see, you know, if there was any inkling that it was a man. So doesn't appear to be, but who knows? Yeah.
Let's go on to now the transgender woman, 45, who dumped soiled adult nappies at children's nurseries, stole a roll of clinical waste bags from local business and hid inside a bin. Abby Taylor, man, accused of 9 charges from October 2022 and November 2023. This story is just disgusting.
Leaves you speechless.
Yeah, it does. A lot of these do, though.
Yeah.
A man who is accused of dumping soiled adult nappies at children's nurseries and stealing clinical waste bags has appeared in court. So what will this crime be put down as? Because they're referring to this man as a transgender woman in this
so
article.
They're all female crimes. If they identify as a woman, they're recorded as a crime by a woman.
I wonder why nobody is thinking deeply about the ramifications of that. Because there's no way that these politicians that are making these laws and rules, there's no way that that can't go through their head. Hold on, these is gonna fuck the crime statistics up.
Yeah.
Why are they not thinking, or are they just that stupid? She can't be that stupid and have a job like that.
I guess it's a big joke to them, though, isn't it? If it's a misogynistic male, it'd be very funny to think, oh, the female crime stats have just skyrocketed. You know, it's if you're a misogynist, they wouldn't give a shit. And like we were talking about before, there's far more than what we ever thought there were. So it's just all, and a lot of them blame that we asked. They say we asked for it. Feminists asked for it. This is your punishment for pushing. And there was some men, I was on a chat and they were saying, I can't even think what they were saying now, but it was absolutely, that's right. They were saying, you've taken all the men only spaces. What were the men only spaces? Right. So was it the pub? You don't want women at the pub. Because when I was growing up at the hotel, there was a small room where all the women congregated because they weren't allowed into the main bar. The hotel was the men's, and there was a small room for the women to congregate. I mean, there's still men-only clubs right throughout Australia. So, and you say, well, what are these men-only spaces? You mean the world shouldn't be in any spaces? What are you trying to? And they never ever give a clear answer of what men-only spaces were. Like if it's a male-only service, we don't try and. It's just ridiculous. But they want to come into the women-only spaces. So the thing is, women fought for those spaces, the services. Men never did anything. Even women had to fight for the public toilets because there were no female public toilets. First one was introduced into Brisbane in 1912. Women could only go out as far as their bladder would take them.
The urinary leash.
Yeah, and then they fought for decades because there were male public toilets but no female public toilets. So
yeah, and now they're disappearing.
Yeah, now we don't have them again.
Well, that brings me on to Canada, I don't know if you've heard of this guy, but he is a man who campaigned to defund rape shelter.
I have heard of him, yeah.
His name is, he's changed his name, but his name is Morgan Oga. It's probably not pronounced like that, but it's fitting.
That's what I was thinking.
Canadian women are expressing outrage after a trans-identified male, a man, who campaigned to defund a rape crisis shelter was awarded the Service Medal from the Governor General of Canada. The man from Vancouver was honoured at a ceremony in Ottawa last week. Just makes you think, what do you have to do to not be lauded as a hero in the trans community? Do you know what I mean?
So got a rape, what was it, a rape crisis centre?
Yeah. Because they didn't accept men, because they were for women only, because women, obviously, if they've been raped, it's going to be by a man, which will then create, obviously, trauma, and women don't want to be around men after they've had that experience. It's not hard to understand. My 2-year-old could understand that. And he's campaigned to get that rape crisis centre shut down, and he's now been awarded a medal by the governor, by a woman, feeling so grateful, receiving the Meritorious Service Medal from Governor General of Canada, Mary Simon, last week for supporting 2S LGBTQ+ persons and furthering the legal protections of transgender Canadians, he said.
Yeah, furthering their taking away women's rights, reducing women's rights, but furthering it for, well, that's what it's all about. Women's rights have just been given to them, been given to men. Any woman hating man, they just want to take everything, absolutely everything from women. We see them all over the place, don't we? You know, it's a pity public don't see what we see, but all they have to do is go on to Twitter and not so much Facebook. They don't seem to congregate in Facebook at all, but on X, they're everywhere. And they're
everywhere.
Very, very overt.
They're everywhere when you're outside as well. If we're doing anything, gathering, having a speaking event, anything like that, they'll turn up. They'll turn up and try and shut us down, call us names, and be violent towards us. And then they'll deny it. They'll deny it after. That's what they do.
Not very good with the truth.
They're not, are they?
You can't trust anything that comes out of their mouth. I mean, they just have no problem with lying. They're back on the Nazi bit with Kelly J again. That up again, saying they've got all this evidence that she's a Nazi sympathiser. And I think Maura Deeming has now included that, is it David Southwick or something? She's taking action against John Pizzuto, and she's included this David Southwick.
Now, it's just been reported that expelled Victorian Liberal MP Moira Deeming has lodged her statement of claim against John Pizzuto in the federal court. Deeming's lawyers argue that a press release by Pizzuto contained imputations that she supports, sympathises with or associates with white supremacists and neo-Nazis because she attended the Let Women Speak rally for women's rights back in February in Melbourne. Deeming's lawyers include high-profile defamation barrister Sue Chrysanthou and Patrick George. The defamation action could cost Pizzuto more than $1 million in legal fees and compensation and potentially his job.
I can't see her losing that because it's the allegations are baseless.
And I mean, Kelly May's going to take legal action. She's already started the process, so I don't know where it's at. And then you've got people, and I keep saying to them, you're defaming an innocent person. Do you want to be included? And they go, oh, but we've got all this evidence. And you think, and then they go on about, you know, everyone that was involved with that tour is a Nazi sympathiser. We were organisers for we know there was nothing to do with the Nazis.
It was so bizarre because we were in the chat groups that were organising it. There was no other groups. That was the organising groups. No, I don't think the word Nazi came up once. In fact, I'm 100% positive it didn't.
It never did, because why would it?
So to see Nazis turn up was one thing, but then to see the government pretty much saying that we were Nazis was just so surreal.
That rally was a nasty, hateful event long before anyone offered up the Nazi salute. Right? Be really clear about this. And you might say that the Liberal Party, are increasingly becoming a nasty, hateful little rabble. Why would you make it harder for trans Victorians? The notion that people are choosing this for fun, like, it's so offensive, it's so cruel, it's not mainstream thinking, it's not the big-heartedness that our state is so well known for. Like, it's just wrong. I've had many people from the Jewish community, and indeed many other minority communities, contact me these last 24 hours, 48 hours. It was a very distressing thing what we saw on Saturday. None of my MPs were at it, nor would they ever be.
And from that second on, it just made me think, I am never, ever trusting anything that the government say ever again.
Yeah, I'm the same. They're just a pack of liars.
I've actually felt like that since COVID. That was the turning point for me, when I was just like, I am never believing anything that the government say.
Yeah.
I can't.
I'm at that point now. I don't trust anything that the government says. And I was never like that at all. I mean, I worked for the government, federal government, for 32 years. Now I just cannot trust that anything they do is in the interests of the public. I've seen they will just lie. The amount of lying that goes on is just incredible.
I know that politicians have always had the reputation for being liars. It's always been like a kind of stereotype. But this is off the scale. This is just absolute bold-faced lies.
That rally was organised by people who have known and established links with people who have Nazi sympathies, promote white supremacist views and ethno-fascist views. That is odious, it is unacceptable. I will never, ever accept any member of the Parliamentary Liberal Party under my leadership ever associating with anybody who shares a platform with people who peddle hate, division, and attack people for who they are. I am a strong supporter of free speech. But free speech doesn't include hate speech. And the Nazis who turned up on Saturday and who said they had turned up to support the rally peddle hate, and I will never accept that.
Yeah.
It was just disgraceful to see them lying about us.
Yeah, and it wasn't just Dan Andrews, it was John Pizzuto, who the patron of what is it, the Liberal Pride or something. So he's really just a trans activist, because we all know the LGB want a divorce from because they never asked for the TIQA plus. They never agreed to this combination, but they would just
why would a group of all, I'm including women as well in that, just in general, why would we agree to something that's going to completely undermine, override rights that we had before? Why would the only way they could get this in was by stealth?
Because they could never discuss it with the public, because if they educated the public would say no. So it has been done by stealth. Never have been given the support. I really feel for the LGB though, because they worked, I've seen documentaries. I was alive in the 70s. I used to hear what went on, the way they got treated, and they did so much to get to a really good place where they're, same-sex marriage. And as soon as same-sex marriage got in, the TIQA plus just completely railroaded everything. And you just...
Yeah, it's a real shame, but it can be won back, and I believe it will be, because the pendulum's now swinging way too far. People are waking up. Like, all of these stories that we've read out These are basically pretty much all from November.
Yeah.
You can't go around in life anymore pretending that this shit isn't happening.
Yeah.
And I'm just glad that we've been speaking out about it for a while now, because you know, we must have helped a little bit by just speaking out. Let's squeeze in a couple more feel-good stories.
Okay.
AOC claims all underage women will face genital examinations if biological men are barred from female sports.
Because you can't tell a man, it's so hilarious because these men
Let's make that make sense. What are they saying there, Sue?
That's what I don't well, they must think that they pass so much for being a woman that the only way to check that it's a biological woman is by looking at the genitals.
Mm.
We're here today because there's a proposal here, and there's several proposals here, to further marginalize trans women in sports. And I think about this all the time because trans people in the United States doesn't even exceed 1% of our population, and yet there is so many resources and energy and time dedicated to figuring out how we can more finely exclude them from our sports. And I thought, why so much effort and dedication on such a tiny portion of the U.S. population when there virtually is no major issue that is precipitating? And I started to realize that a lot of these proposals here involve invasion of privacy of all women. So we're seeing here, in this guise, under the guise of not only trying to further marginalize trans women and girls, we are talking about opening up all women and girls to genital examinations when they are underage. That's right. Potentially just because someone can point to someone and say, I don't think you're a girl. That's correct. And we're supposed to believe that this is going to make us better and safer? I think not. And per usual, I don't believe we're sitting here in a panel of men that has actually thought about the biology and privacy consequences of all women, trans or cisgender here.
They just kid themselves.
Mm. Mm. This is coming from a woman saying this as well, which is very bizarre.
Yeah, it is bizarre, but I mean, we've seen the trans maidens, haven't we? Look at Shannon Fentiman for a start, and you just think, oh God.
I don't know if AOC has kids, but would she be happy then if her daughter, who trained and trained and trained for years to have a career in any sport, lost her place to a man? I'm sure she wouldn't. I'm sure that would be a visceral reaction of, no, this isn't right, but maybe not. The New York Democrat said there were several proposals looking to marginalize transgender Americans, before claiming during her questioning that women would have to get their pants checked if someone disbelieves their stated gender.
And that's because trans-identifying males are liars. So they'd rock up and say they're, but the thing is, you just have to look at them.
Well, what they say is that they're intersex, don't they?
Yeah.
They feel like you can't argue with that, because it's like, oh, okay, well, maybe you just look like a man, but actually you're a woman. No, we shouldn't be made to feel like our intuition doesn't work as women. It's carried us through hundreds of thousands of years of evolution as women. It's helped. It's working.
And then they think they can scare women by going, oh, if you don't allow men in your sports, we're going to have to check your genitals.
But they wouldn't say men, they would say trans women, wouldn't they?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. They always say trans women, which is what confuses the public.
And trans girls. Why
Yeah.
don't you want trans girls to participate in sport? Why do you want to ban girls from sports? Like, no one's banning anyone.
Yeah.
You just have to participate with your biological sex.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But isn't it amazing the number of people that think that a trans woman is actually a woman that's identified as a man?
Yeah.
Even skewed the language up to confuse people.
I hear it now all the time, like when I'm listening to people talking about this, people who have just come into this mentalness, so you can't blame them for not knowing, but they'll say a trans man, meaning like someone like Bruce Jenner.
Yeah.
Like they've got it the wrong way around, but really they're right.
Yeah.
Really, that is how it should be described.
Yeah.
Because it's a man.
But everything they do, the way that they've attacked our language to cause confusion.
It does cause confusion, and I feel sorry for like older people that have to deal with this, like in hospitals and stuff like that.
Yeah.
If they're told that they're getting, for example, care from a trans woman, why would they question it? They're hearing the word woman.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's really scary, really sad. It has to end.
So many things happening overseas.
Well, my last thing was Eddie Izzard being absolutely mullered from becoming an MP, which I knew he would. I knew he wouldn't get in. People, I just know that it's a very small minority of people that believe in this.
Yeah.
He's gone.
Yeah. Didn't get pre-selection.
No, he's gone. It was great.
And he's a celebrity in his own right, isn't he? So
he was a stand-up before he was a stand-up, but he always used to dress up as a woman, I think. Like here and there. It was cross-dresser, transvestite.
Yeah.
He always said he was a transvestite, but now he's a woman.
Yeah.
Now he's a woman called Susie.
Yeah.
And this is what he said for his statement. Part of it, he said, Labour should always stand to confront and call out discrimination wherever it lies. This is a white, middle-aged man. At times, this felt less like a selection contest and more like a referendum on trans people.
Oh my God, really?
If we saw racism, homophobia, anti-Semitism or misogyny directed towards any campaign on the same scale that transphobia was directed towards our campaign, we should rightly have expected it to be called out immediately. We must guard against the view that when it comes to trans people, any abuse goes.
So he's claiming the fact that he lost it is it's transphobia.
Of course it is.
The thing is transphobia.
Of course it is.
He's a man with a mental illness.
Yes, he is.
That's what he is.
Mm.
Now we've got the Australian one too, down in Victoria, Josh Frydenberg's seat, which I'm not sure which electorate it is. I can't remember his name. Is it Rachel something?
Oh, was that for the Greens?
No.
Oh yeah, for the LNP.
Yeah. Oh, the Liberals. It's the Liberals. Yes.
I was shocked to read that.
Yeah.
I was like, bloody hell.
Liberals, a Conservative party.
Yeah.
2.5 decades ago was my first time. The first time I paid to be fully transformed into a woman. The mirrors were covered as I squeezed into lingerie, a long flowing dress and high heels that I really couldn't walk in. The woman used makeup to make my eyes pop, and I asked for bright red lipstick. And then the mirrors were uncovered. I was captivated by what I saw.
I mean, he's not going to win.
God, I hope not, but who knows these days? Can you imagine if we were ruled by, they hate us so much.
I think we are ruled by them though, because with these men at the top are the ones that are funding it, the billionaires.
Yeah,
they're autogynephiles.
but there's not enough of them to actually, you know, I can imagine if every single leader, it would be like Nazi Germany. They'd have us in concentration camps.
Re-education camps.
Yeah. They would, because that how many times they're very open about wanting to kill us, which amazes me because you see it all the time. I've never ever seen anyone say they wanted to kill a trans person, ever. But you see it all the time with them, how they just want to kill TERFs. So anyone that disagrees with them, they want to kill.
We have compassion, we have love and worry, especially I do for the girls that are caught up in this. I don't wish any harm on them whatsoever. I wish the blokes in the dresses that wanted to infiltrate my daughter's spaces would, quite frankly, fuck off.
Yeah.
Yes, I do. But I don't want them to be hurt.
Yeah.
I actually want them to get help.
Yeah.
Because it's mental.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's everyone around them that has to suffer. So yeah, I want them to get help. But you know, this is the result of porn and social media, in my opinion, that's causing most of this. Each and every one of those stories we read out was a bloke.
And the most, you know, they always talk about the trans genocide. I don't think they understand what a genocide is.
No.
And there was a comment made that the trans genocide is worse than the Holocaust, Hiroshima, and both world wars all combined. You think, do these people understand what they're saying?
No. No. No, they don't.
Yeah.
On that note, I think that's enough good news for one day.
And that's the wrap up for 2023.
Yeah. And we'll be back in the new year.
Yeah, you'll have a baby.
God, I hope so, Sue. I read before of this story. I was just thinking, oh, what's the longest pregnancy ever recorded? Over a year.
What?
It was a woman in the 40s who was pregnant for over a year.
Somehow I don't think they'll let you go that
No. God.
Or you could tell them you want to see if you can break the world record. In the loony bin.
No, I think he'll be here soon, but you just have to wait.
Yeah.
All right then, Sue. I think that's everything. Do you?
Yeah, I think that's it.
All right then. Yeah, I enjoyed that in a weird way. It's quite cathartic to get it out.
Even really touch on how many issues have come up in November. That's just the tip of the iceberg.
It is. But we'll do another XX Files.
Yeah. Trust no one. That's our motto. Trust no one.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right then, everyone.
Okay. See you next year. Bye.
Bye. Happy New Year.